Hey guys, and welcome to this week's Betting B1G. I'm Alexandra, your host. Hopefully from here on out if I do a good job. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. We've got the first game, and it's Rutgers at Kansas. I don't even know why we're talking about this game, but it's here, so let's do it. Both teams stink, but who do you guys have?
This is the one everyone's been waiting for, Tim.
Yeah, exactly.
How many chances do you get to see Rutgers and Kansas, a titanic battle of two lightweight programs fighting it out for an important victory? We just talked about the Scarlet Knights. They had been struggling. We thought maybe Chris Ash was turning the corner, and maybe they have. They just can't close the gap with teams like Ohio State. They lost 52-3 last week, but against Kansas, even on the road, I'm taking Chris Ash. It sounds crazy that I would ever want to put money or put any stock in Rutgers, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing it for the second straight week. So what does that what does that make me? Yeah. I picked Rutgers to cover the spread last week for some reason, probably some sort of illness that I have, and I'm doing it again this week. This is glorious. This is going to be a glorious mess, this game between Rutgers and Kansas, and I'm probably not going to miss a snap. But yeah, I'm going to take Rutgers, and I just think they're. This is crazy to say that they're far and away a better team than somebody, but Kansas is like a high school team. So I'm rolling with the Scarlet Knights.
Wow. 2 picks for Rutgers.
Yeah.
Which, from what I've learned, I don't know if we can trust your opinion all the time. Only about 50%.
Only 50%, yeah.
All right, so this one might work. All right, next up we have USC at Texas, and Texas is a 3-point favorite. I don't know how I feel about this because I personally like Texas over USC, but what's up with Tom Herman? How do you guys feel about it all?
Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, so this is the game that I've dubbed like the teams that should be better than they actually are bowl.
The who do you trust?
Yeah, right. And I don't trust either team right now. I think USC kind of laid an egg last week, only scoring 3 points against Stanford. That's crazy to me. Texas has obviously flopped in week 1 and came back last week and won, but was far from impressive in doing so. So I'm going to take USC in the points this week. Though this game could really go either way in my opinion, but no, I'm gonna take the points. I don't really trust either team, but I've got to make a pick, and so I'm gonna take the points and go with USC.
Yeah, anytime that you have this this tight spread where obviously Texas is just getting that 3 points based on the home field advantage, I mean I think you really have to have faith in the road team to go win, and in this case, right now I do. USC was awful last week. There's no question about that. But I can't get the memory of Texas and Tom Herman losing to Maryland twice out of my brain.
Yeah.
That's just too much for me to get over. He's going to have to work to erase some of that stench off of that program right now. It's just not happening. So I'm going to roll with the Trojans. I did that last week and it didn't turn out that well for me. But hopefully this time that we get a little bit more working in our favor.
Yeah.
Oh man, no one's agreeing with me. All right, fine.
Well, you're going to prove us wrong.
I hope so. All right, so next up we have, unfortunately, Alabama at Ole Miss. Alabama is a 22-point favorite, which seems inevitable. I'm really hoping against this greatly, but they are the best team in the country. So,
yeah, I'm rolling with the Tide until they give me a reason not to. Alabama finally has a legitimate offense this year, which I think is a game changer for this entire sport. So I'm gonna take Alabama, like I said, till somebody proves me wrong and decides not to, even though it's a lot of points to lay on the road. Ole Miss has a history of beating Alabama, but I don't think that matters this year.
Yeah, it's definitely changed things when you look at that quarterback situation with Alabama. Now, this sport is crazy, we can say that, right? It's hard to go on the road, especially in the SEC, a team that sees them every year. But I'm also not foolish enough to pick against Alabama. There might be a time this year where something goes haywire, but I don't think it's going to be this week, Alex.
Any given day.
That's for true.
It can happen any given weekend. You just never know. They can come in hard.
Well, that's why we watch them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. All right, next up we have Boise State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is a 2.5-point favorite. It could be a very high point scoring game. There's no defense on either side, so this could go very much either way. It's
another one I think, Tim, where if you're going to mess with a spread like that, you better be confident if the road team can win. And I think Boise State can. I don't know what it is about the credit that Mike Gundy gets, that every job that's open, people want to hire him, that his team is, going going to succeed because he has a mullet going and he's fun. Like I
sweet mullet, though.
I don't get into it, and it seems like to me that there's always a game or two every year when people are ready to start talking about them as maybe a contender that things fall apart.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not going to happen against Boise State, but I tend to give that program more credit for the stability, even though Gundy's been there forever and taken them to some heights. I'm going to take the Broncos.
So this is our first difference of opinion this week.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah, right. I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I think, obviously with the spread being just 2.5, Vegas views these teams as very even. The 2.5 3-point spread is just because Oklahoma State's playing at home. I'm gonna lay the points and take the home team. I think, I hope that this game is like 68-65 because it's because that's like the kind of game I love to watch on a Saturday night, right? So, but yeah, I think it's two high-powered offenses. Boise State's a great program. Oklahoma State has done a lot of great things under Mike Gundy, like you mentioned. But in this scenario, I'm gonna take the home team.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we
will see.
All right. Well, next up, we've got a big one for all of us, obviously, or a little bit more. Let's watch it. LSU at Auburn. We've got a 9.5-point favorite for Auburn. All right. We've got Joe Burrow, obviously coming from Ohio State. That's a big one to watch for us and see how he's doing over there. Got to root for him, root against him. How do you feel?
I'd like to see Joe Burrow play well for LSU. I think everybody in Columbus would. He was, fun to be around. He's got a great personality, and I thought that if he had stayed at Ohio State that he could have, done some of the same things offensively, maybe even that Dwayne Haskins is doing. But, we can talk about that later. This is about LSU, and I do worry about him this week with that just seems to be a pretty terrible offensive line to him, and Auburn with a pass rush that can get after him. That number seems high to me when you have two teams of this caliber and the defense that both of them can play. I don't expect that Auburn's going to let this game get away. I think they're going to win, but I think that Coach O has a chance to cover. I just talked myself into it right now. I wasn't anticipating rolling with the Tigers, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Which Tigers?
Yep.
Auburn. No,
the purple Tigers.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to roll with Auburn here. All the things you just mentioned. I think LSU.
Yeah, there are good reasons to take Auburn. What am I doing?
Right, yeah. I do worry big time about LSU's offensive line against a nasty Auburn front. I think that this is going to be a very low-scoring game, which, laying 10 points in a low-scoring game seems a little crazy, but I could certainly see something like, 21-10 final in favor of Auburn, something along those lines. I just think that, both teams have really good defenses. I just think Auburn's offense is slightly ahead of LSU's right now. I worry about, like you said, LSU keeping Joe Burrow upright and them having any success moving the ball downfield. Games like this could always swing on a big turnover, special teams play, something like that. But I just think Auburn playing at home, I think has already played and beaten a really big time opponent in Washington in week 1. So I'm going to take Auburn here and lay the 9.5.
I really regret my decision now.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to go.
We're 2 days away. I'm already talking myself out of it.
A quarterback can make it or break it, and you never know. Sometimes they can carry the team, and sometimes it's just not quite enough.
You're
so,
right. You're right.
I feel like I'm going to go with LSU just because.
All right,
I
Alex. Now we're talking.
I just want to be different.
There you go.
All right, the most important game of this week, and the biggest one for Ohio State thus far. This will really test them, show us what they've got and what they're going to have for the rest of the season. So we've got Ohio State and TCU. Obviously, I would assume who you guys are both going to pick. I know who I'm picking because I still can't believe that TCU has gone this far the last few years. It blows my mind. I don't know why. I just don't think of them like that.
Right.
But Ohio State, 13.5-point favorite. Can TCU stop Dwayne? Can TCU stop Bosa? Will the defense power through? What do you think? Going.
Yeah, I'm going to this is obviously a huge game. It's one Ohio State fans have been looking forward to. I think been tough these last couple weeks playing a couple cupcakes, but I think Ohio State is kind of cooking on all cylinders right now. I'm not sure. I think TCU is a really good team, really talented program. They're just a little notch below right now where Ohio State's at. I think Ohio State's going to cover this spread. I love the way that Dwayne Haskins in this offense is rolling right now. I do think that there are some questions about Ohio State that I still have, that a lot of people still have, that will be answered we'll find out if this offensive line is for real. We'll find out, if the secondary has fixed some minor issues that we saw in week 1, because they're just playing a much better team. But I think that just when it's all said and done, Ohio State is 2 touchdowns or better than TCU on a neutral field. I do think that it's real close to TCU, but I do think there are going to be a lot of Ohio State fans there. It's going to be a fast track. I think it's going to be fun to watch. But I think Ohio State's can pretty much score on anybody, and I think their defense will get enough stops to cover the spread.
Yeah, this is probably the pick that I'm most confident in this week, Tim. I mean, so it's brought to you unofficially by my Brewdog beer over here. And the winnings from this game you can use in the Lettermen Row equipment room
there you go.
That I'm representing again this week. Get your gear for the rest of the season. This pick to me is all about Ohio State. I mean, as Alex alluded to, TCU has built themselves a powerful program. There's no question about that. I have tremendous respect for Gary Patterson and what he's done in Fort Worth, especially when they were jumping around leagues and just building themselves into what they've become. But they just don't have the top-to-bottom talent that Ohio State does. There are only 2 or 3 teams in this country right now that do. And the way that Dwayne Haskins has changed and evolved the offense, it's got to be scary for opponents. I think that this one in the second half could get out of hand. TCU can certainly make some things happen, some big plays with Sean Robinson at quarterback, but I don't think they're going to be able to do enough. Nick Bosa, Chase Young, a secondary that's coming along for Ohio State, and then just the wave after wave offensively. Get on that fast turf that Ohio State knows very well from their previous visits down there to Jerry World. I think it's going to be at least 17 with the possibility of even more than that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Ohio State's defense is kind of known for is you might get them early, but usually they're pretty good, and Greg Schiano and that staff are pretty good at figuring things out and making some adjustments. I think mobile quarterbacks like Sean Robinson have given Ohio State defenses trouble in the past, but so you might get this game might be pretty close in the first half. It still might finish close, but I think Ohio State will, like you said, open it up in the second half once they figure out this TCU offense a little bit, and it really comes down to, is TCU going to be able to protect Sean Robinson? This Ohio State defensive front has been pretty horrifying through the first couple weeks. Obviously, they're playing some better competition this week, but I just think that as the game goes on, the Ohio State defense kind of gets better, and that's kind of why I think that Ohio State will separate in the end and kind of pull away in the second half and at least cover the spread. You seem a little more confident than I am, but I do think Ohio State will win and win comfortably.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how that goes, but this is one where the first 2 weeks, very confident Ohio State to keep, and I think keep covering that spread, and I think that they've kind of reached the benefit of the doubt just from what I've seen. I know it's Oregon State, I know it's Rutgers, but I've also seen Ohio State not look as impressive in crushing opponents like that over the last couple of years. This to me is a different team, Alex.
I agree. I think that the fourth quarter, Ohio State always pulls it through. Even when you don't think they're going to, in that last second, they make it happen for sure. All right, well, there you go, guys. There's their picks. You got my unwanted picks for sure. Crazy
She's going to be
picks.
6-0. You have to look out.
Good luck. Make money. Make sure you follow Lettermen Row so you can watch more awesome videos like this. Make sure you check out the website and get all your awesome gear because
Absolutely.
I love my t-shirt. There's women's stuff too. Don't forget that.
Perfect.
Buy your girlfriends and wives. And yes, we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you guys.